commemorate, and we want to remember, and we want to pay tribute and to thank the women in our movement who have fought in many, many generations for the right to equality at work in pay and conditions. Just a wee clip. These t-shirts are available to buy for £12. And thank you very much to the Socialist Productions stand, who not only helped us produce these t-shirts but also made a very welcome donation towards them, so thank you very much to them. To think about the contribution of women to our movement in Glasgow, we are going to tell the story of a very special sister, who many of you might know in this hall, and that is Agnes McLean. But for those who don't know Agnes McLean, she was an extraordinary woman, and her story represents the story of many women in our movement.
Thank you very much, Chair. Sisters and brothers, it's a privilege to present a snapshot of Agnes McLean. Agnes was a delegate to Glasgow Chase Council for many years and member of its executive committee for 14 years. She was a regular attender at the Glasgow Mayday. I'll be repeating maybe bits and pieces that was on the video, but bear with me. Agnes was born in Trayston, Glasgow on the 4th of December 1918, the year the first steps were enacted to give women the vote. Agnes's parents were socialist, and her early years were spent in the Socialist Sunday School, as it said in the video, where she got her introduction to music, dance, and of course, socialist ideals. Her dream as a child was to be a ballet dancer, but more on this later. She left school at 14 and went to work at Collins, the publishers, as a bookbinder. A few years prior to the outbreak of the Second World War, she went to work at Rolls-Royce Hillington, being one of the first women to work on the factory floor. She was a trade unionist. Her union was the Transport and General Workers Union. However, it was not until the Amalgamated Union of Engineers opened up membership to women and unskilled workers in the early 40s that Agnes transferred her trade union membership to the AEU. She was in Hillington 5th branch and served as branch chair for 15 years. In the factory, she was elected to represent women workers and was a member of the Rolls-Royce Shop Stewards Committee. Agnes was the main spokesperson in the historic campaign for equal pay for work of equal value, which you saw on the video. And that campaign was for the inspectresses at Rolls-Royce. The women, as indicated in the film, won the equal pay campaign. There's a wee picture in the People's Palace of Agnes and the women of Rolls-Royce on the picket line. Brothers and sisters, the action of the Rolls-Royce women became a significant turning point in the annals of the engineering union, and indeed in the trade union movement for women and men. In 1948, Agnes took part in the first Amalgamated Engineering Union National Conference for Women. In 1954, she was the first woman to be elected onto the National Executive of the Amalgamated Engineering Union. In the 60s, she participated in a series of meetings throughout Scotland supported by the Rolls-Royce Shop Stewards Committee on the issue of equal pay. She was accompanied by the Shop Stewards convener at that time of Rolls-Royce, who was George McCormick. In recalling this series of meetings, George McCormick said, "I didn't get speaking very much. Agnes did all the talking." Campaigning work of Agnes and others, especially the women at Ford's Dagenham, supported by Barbara Castles, culminated in the passage of the 1970 Equal Pay Act. Agnes was awarded the TUC Gold Badge for services to the trade union movement. Another significant campaign in 1970-71 that Agnes was involved in was when Rolls-Royce was facing a crucial point in its very existence, namely the funding for the RB211 aircraft engine. The day when the decision was taken for Rolls-Royce to go into liquidation, the Paisley District Committee of the AEU, of which Agnes was on, met and took a decision to launch their campaign to save the factory. It was a successful campaign for the workers in the factory and the aircraft industry. Rolls-Royce, and listen to the words, Rolls-Royce was nationalised and the RB211 engine saved. In the 60s, Agnes supported a campaign against Polaris coming to the Holy Loch, and that was a campaign in which the Glasgow Trades Council played a significant part. She participated in many peace demonstrations, including the sit-down at the Holy Loch in the autumn of 1961. In her own words of that day, Agnes wrote, "My friend Patsy had made up a picnic basket, salmon sandwiches, tea, biscuits and fruit. She also included 2 cushions for the sit-down. We hardly settled ourselves down when along came the police and lifted us, taking us to the jail in Dunoon. Of course, a court was set up in Dunoon. Our story goes on. We all stood in the dock. We were tried, found guilty of a breach of the peace, fined £10 or the option of 60 days in prison." By the way, the going rate for breach of the peace at that time was £1, 10 shilling, £1.50. So there was a bit of bias on behalf of the judge there, fining many of us £10. Agnes concludes her story saying, "Incidentally, we never saw our salmon sandwiches, biscuits, fruit or tea again, nor the cushions." Agnes was a member of the Communist Party of Great Britain for some years and served on its National Committee. Due to her mother's illness, Agnes left the Rolls-Royce in 1976. In the 70s, Agnes was, for a short time, a Glasgow City Labour councillor. In 1978, she was elected to Strathclyde Regional Council, representing Glasgow Central and Carlton Ward, and served on a number of Strathclyde Regional Council committees. She was the first chairperson of its Women's Committee. She represented the region and outside bodies, including Blindcraft Scotland, and also Theatre Royal Board of Management, Scottish Opera, and wait for it, the Scottish Ballet. So, while Agnes did not achieve her childhood ambition to become a ballet dancer, at least she served on the board of Scottish Ballet. Agnes was, however, an excellent dancer of Scottish country dancing and Highland dancing, sequence dancing, ballroom and Latin American. She became a bit of a film celebrity after dancing to Latin American rhythms in a BBC documentary film made in Cuba. The film was called "They're Still Dancing in Cuba." The film won a BAFTA award. This was presented to Agnes. Agnes never married, but throughout her adult life was part of an extended family, enjoyed regular visits to her sister Sadie and husband and their family. To conclude, I think it's appropriate to mark Agnes' contribution to equality this Mayday. we can feel justly proud of Agnes's work, campaigning for equality, socialist, peace activist, internationalist and dancer extraordinary. To conclude, it's nice to look out and see so many familiar faces, but it's also nice to see so many young people in the audience, particularly young women. And can I say to you, now to carry forward the struggle for equality, because equal pay has still not been achieved. So let's go forward with Agnes's team. Thank you particularly today.
On behalf of Glasgow Trades Council.
Thank you, Jane, for that warm tribute to Agnes. I'm here to do one for you. I'm not going to speak for too long because I know you get deeply embarrassed about this. But we could not let today go when we're marking the history and the contributions of a woman in this city and the work that she did for the trade union movement and labour movement without acknowledging and marking the occasion for the contribution that you have made. I have personally benefited from your mentoring and your good counsel, and I know that there are many other women in the trade union movement today who owe you personally a great deal of thanks for the encouragement and the drive that you put behind us, and some would just say gave us a backbone, but never mind. So thank you for that. So I would like to, and by the way, Jane's no stranger to the jail herself. for our causes. Not a different kind of picture to be. So Jane, it is my absolute privilege and honour to give you this special award in appreciation of your outstanding contribution to the work of Glasgow Trade Union Council and recognition to your commitment to other trade union members and their families. Thank you.
And I don't have any notes prepared, and I'm not very good with the notes. But can I say, when I had mentioned the cause of the speech, it was very nice to look out and see a whole lot of people who have touched my life at various stages of my life, and also to look out and see my daughter sitting there. And I meant it with sincerity when I closed by saying, you only get a shot of holding that baton for a short time. It's like the relay race. So you do what you can in that part of the race which is yours. Sometimes you go fast, sometimes you go slow, sometimes you make mistakes, sometimes there's gains. But all of us need to make sure that when we're running forward, there's someone to hand the baton to. So to the young people that are out there, don't do it my way, do it your way. Thanks very much.